Hello, everyone. Before we get this podcast started off, we wanted to just bring attention to Elias Theodoro, who we found out passed away a couple days ago. Just we had him on the podcast, a genuine, a good person. He did a lot for the community and stuff, and just a former UFC fighter and was a great fighter as well. So just rest in peace, Elias Theodoro. You're in our thoughts and prayers, and with his whole family as well.
Yeah, basically everything Jack said more, everybody. I woke up this morning, which will be yesterday when this podcast is released, to some really heartbreaking news. Elias Theodoro, one of my favorite people, one of my favorite fighters, tragically passed away at the age of 34. I mean, barely even started in life. 34 is nothing. Such a lovely, lovely guy, absolute gentleman, gave us his valuable time to come on the podcast. I think not even a year ago, if I'm not wrong. Lovely, lovely guy, absolute gentleman, brilliant fighter, no less. And one of the best podcasts we've ever done. And we've had a number of guests on the podcast in our time here. And Elias was one of my favorites. He really, really was. I mean, I was saying to Jack before we came on, I mean, I learned so much from Elias about his campaign, about his advocacy to legitimize CBD and marijuana usage in professional combat sports. And all around, he was a great guy. He will be dearly missed. He will be dearly missed by us. And may God grant him peace.
Yeah, and on behalf of all of us, I know Hunter's not here right now, but we all just it was an honor to have him on the podcast, and prayers to his family and everybody related to him.
Rest in peace, Elias Theodoro.
I'm Jack Kennedy, and we're here to bring you the latest in MMA.
Hey everybody, my name's Hunter Boss, and what the boss says goes.
What is up, everyone? My name is Keelan McNamara, and you already know what time it is.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island Podcast. I am Jack Kennedy alongside Keelan McNamara, and today we have a very, very special guest coming on, Joe Giannetti, Cage Titans double champion. Thank you so much for joining us today.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me.
Of course. So first thing I want to ask, just what were your emotions whenever you won your last fight? You're the double champion of the Cage Titans lightweight division. Just what did that feel like?
It was really surreal. I kind of didn't appreciate the moment until the next morning when I was kind of hanging out with my friends because I don't know, not like I was undeserving, but it just felt weird, taking over the 155 division, getting on top, and then just jumping right into getting on top of 170. I know it was because I couldn't find fights at 55, so that was a big part in it. But the next day, sitting back, like holding the two belts, it was awesome. It was just something really cool, and was never originally part of my plan before getting back to UFC. So now that's done, it's over with, and now we move on to the next fight.
So, congrats on winning both belts. Unbelievable victories, as Jack just said. Is there either division that you feel particularly better at, either welterweight or lightweight, or is it much of an indifference for you?
I feel a little bit better at 170, though I just don't feel like I'm a true welterweight yet. Maybe one day, but I just feel like, the when I look at the UFC specifically, like I look at the top five, I don't know if I can compete physically with those guys at 170. Technically, I think there's things I do possess that, compete with those guys, but physically, I just don't think I'm there yet. So I think 55 for a couple more years, and we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, for sure. How is cutting weight comparatively, like 155 to 170? Do you have to cut a ton of weight to get down to 170, or is it more manageable than 155?
55 sucks. It's horrible. 170 is pretty nice. And, that was another big reason we took the fight. Last summer I was at AKA all summer. Didn't get to see my girlfriend, my friends, my
Oh.
family. Whereas this one, I was at home, got to go to barbecues and have some burgers, pulled pork. Nothing crazy bad, but I
Right,
got to
right.
actually eat and enjoy my time with everybody. So I wouldn't even really call it a weight cut at 170. You know, I cut 6 pounds in the sauna, but if I had just eaten a little bit less at the barbecue, it would have been a lot easier. 55 is tough, man, but it's very doable, and it's just getting it down to that science and keeping it consistent.
For sure, for sure.
So obviously, we know in terms of sort of amateur organizations, Cage Titans is one of the best organizations out there, bar none, really. What does it mean to you to be not only champion of one division, but to be a double champion in that kind of organization? What does it mean to you to be a representative of that?
It's amazing. I mean, I grew up in this organization. You know, they kind of say it every time I fight now is like my first amateur fight, my first pro fight, my last fight before Tough, my first fight back from Tough was all at Cage Titans, you know, and now I'm at the top of two of the hardest divisions. It's just really cool. And I think Cage Titans is going to blow up in the future, like really, really big. It's done a lot of growing recently. I don't think we're anywhere near the ceiling. Hopefully I won't be around when it makes its big blow up. I'll just be the guy that is in the UFC that they look back and they're like, he came from here. But yeah, I think Cage Titans is really going to blow up in the next few years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think so too. The card that you fought on was insane with like 18 fights and all the finishes and everything. It was amazing, especially that you were the main event. Is the UFC what you're aiming for next? Or if Bellator calls or if like PFL calls, is that the way you would go? Or would you stick to Cage Titans unless it was the UFC?
I think that it's going to be Cage Titans until we're back in the UFC. You know, nothing against Bellator or PFL or any of those organizations. I actually met Scott Coker last time I was at AKA, had a conversation with him. He wasn't there for me. I just happened to be like, "Hey, how's it going?" But we sat down and we were talking for a little bit, and he was a nice guy. But yeah, right now I think the UFC is the goal. It's been my dream, and it hasn't changed. And it's just one of those things that whatever happens in my career, when I look back on it, if my kids or grandkids ever ask, like, were you in the UFC or why weren't you in the UFC? I don't want to say like it got hard, so I went another way. You know, I want to do it my way. I want to chase my dreams. And if they don't come true, they don't come true. But if it's a possibility, I'm going to chase it.
Nice. So if a call comes up for the Contender Series, we know you're there then.
100%. It's not my go-to route. I think it's one of those things because it's tough. You know, you could have the fight of your life, the best performance of the night, and for whatever reason, Dana's just like, not today, kid, which kind of sucks, which was my favorite thing about The Ultimate Fighter because there is no denying you. You win, you get there, you're in the UFC. You know, a lot of people argued for me after I lost the finale. I didn't. It was a poor performance. I didn't really care. Not that I didn't care, but I was like, I get it. I'm not going to be like, I deserve this. But it's just one of those things where you can't be denied. Had I won the finale, I'm in the UFC. No arguing. The Contender Series, you can have your best performance, and it's just not your night for whatever reason. So I'll do it, and I'll go out there, and I'll put on a hell of a performance and win. It's just not my go-to. But whatever they call for, I'm there.
Yeah, for sure. If you had to pick a fighter in the UFC's lightweight division right now that you would love to match up against, do you have anyone that comes to mind?
You already know my answer. You know, the guy that everybody calls out for clout, I want to fight him. I want to fight Paddy Pimblett. It's not for clout though. You know, it's for two reasons. It's one, you know, I got offered a fight with him short notice. I showed up and couldn't make the weight. I want to get that one back for me because we all know I can make 55 and we all know that I'm a good fighter at 55. So that's a personal thing. And he just talks a lot, man. You know, I'm sure he'll see this and say I'm fat or something along those lines. But, you know, he just talks and talks. I think he's a fraud. I think that, you know, he spreads some positive messages. But I also think that he undermines himself by the way he acts and talks to people. It's hard. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect either, you know. It's good to spread positivity. I try to spread positivity. I'm a hypocrite myself. I tell people all the time, do as I say, not as I do. I'm still improving as a person, as a fighter, and everything. So I just try to spread the positivity so you don't have to make mistakes that I've made. But, you know, I really do think he undermines himself where he's like mental health, positivity, and then, you know, he just goes out and he's just trashing on some people, you know, not for no reason, but he's just out there like cutthroat. So it's just weird playing two sides of the coin. But yeah, you know, he said a lot of stuff to me and, you know, we had our opportunity to fight. I didn't make weight. We almost fought outside of the cage. It didn't happen. So I'd like to get that one back and get paid for it.
For sure.
Nice. I know. I want to see that now. Paddy,
Yeah.
if you somehow watch this, you know what the next fight is. You know what the real fight is. It's Joe Giannetti. Let's make it happen.
Let's
Joe,
go.
I gotta ask you about your nickname because I love this. Just tell me how this came about.
So my third amateur fight, I actually wasn't fighting for Cage Titans this night. It was a short notice fight. And the night of the fight, the announcer came up to me. It was at this tiny little armory. And the announcer came up to me and he goes, "Hey, what's your nickname?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't really have one. The last two fights, it was something random my coach made up that day." So I said, "Go ask my coach." And he's like, "All right, okay." And my buddies have been making fun of me all week because the fight was actually at 150. When I was an amateur, I thought I was eventually going to go to 45. So I made 150. And all my buddies were making fun of me because my face was so sucked out. And they were like, "You look like Skeletor, like you look like you haven't eaten in a month." And then fight time comes around. I'm pacing back and forth. They're announcing me. They're announcing my opponent. And they were like, "In this corner, Joe Skeletor Giannetti." And I was like, "What the hell?" So I said to my coach, I go, "Did you talk to my friends?" And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "They were calling me Skeletor all week. And then I told them to talk to you for my nickname. And that's what you picked." And he's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And it just stuck from then on.
That's fantastic. I love that. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, transitioning a little bit, right back to the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, that was obviously where you made a big splash. I mean, you beat one guy in like 10 seconds and it was an incredible fight. Just what did you take away from that experience? And then also being able to be under a guy like Daniel Cormier competing against Stipe Miocic. Just what did that give you for your career in the future?
It just kind of showed me what my life needs to be like. I tell people all the time, like every season you see people complaining, like, "I miss my girl, I miss my parents, my friends, all this stuff." Don't get me wrong, I missed them all too, but we all know why I was there. I told everybody, "I'm gonna miss you, but I'm not gonna be crying over you. Like, I've got dreams to chase, and we all know why I'm here, and I know what sacrifices I have to make." But it was nice, like, don't get me wrong, I love my animals, but I wake up 9 in the morning. I don't got to go walk the dog. I just go make breakfast. I go train. I get beat up. I come home and eat, and then I do it all over again. You don't even have to go grocery shopping. You don't have to pay bills. Like, it's just this perfect lifestyle if you are truly a fighter. No stresses. Just train as hard as you can, get better, and fight. And if my life can become that, then I'm doing something right.
For sure. For sure.
I respect. That's the new advert for the Ultimate Fighter. That's what we need to package this. If you're a true fighter, it's the lifestyle for you. I love that. You're just cutting promos here, Joe. What we love to see. And sort of on the same topic about Daniel Cormier, because this is something we were actually discussing before you came on. Is there anything in particular? Because obviously we know DC's strengths when he was a fighter. And was there anything in particular he gave you advice on, or anything that he maybe showed you differently that you've implemented in your game going forward?
Just a lot of mentality. I mean, one, he's the king of the grind, and he forced that on us. Like, he's gonna work us to the bone and then some. But just the way that he can flip a switch, like intensity wise, like we've all seen goofy DC, like cracking jokes and messing with everybody. He did it to all of us and all the guys on the Ultimate Fighter that season. Like, he just took us all under his wing, and like, you would think that he'd been coaching us for years for how close our team got. And it was really funny before my second fight on the show. Before the first fight on the show, I sparred with DC and Kane, and DC beat the hell out of me. Kane showed me some mercy. He was beating the hell out of me, but he was like, "Come on, hit me back." And I was like, "I can't even move. I'm exhausted." He wasn't there before the second fight, so I was just sparring DC for 3 rounds, and he's pacing back and forth, and he's like yelling. He's like, "Come on, DC. Come on, DC." And I looked at Bob Cook, and I was like, "The hell's he doing?" He's like, "Oh, he does that before every fight." And I was like, "We're not fighting. I'm not Stipe." And he beat the hell out of me for 3 rounds. And it was just like, he pushed me. Like, he didn't hurt me, but he had me. I was dry heaving the whole time. And then afterwards, he's like, as soon as the round ends, "Good job. That was your best rounds yet. You look great. You're going to kill this fucking kid." Da, 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 da. And I was like, I feel horrible. What are you talking about? But we actually got into like a heated argument about it, because in the third round, he was letting me work, and I was like, "Stop going easy." And he's like, I'm not. I was like, "No, you went easy on me that round." And he's like, "No, you did good." And I threw my gloves, and I was like, "You fucking went easy on me." And he was like, "Listen to me. You did good. go shower and get ready to cut weight. And I was like,
Whoa.
I was pissed.
Whoa.
But it was just like, it's just that competitor in me. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't close. He was beating my ass, but I want you to push me. Like, I want to get beat up. And if I do good, I want to know that I earned it.
yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine sparring with DC. That is crazy.
It was not a great time.
Oh man, I mean, talk about discipline right there and just having to push through that. You have gone through more than a lot of people in sparring someone like that, like one of the greatest fighters to ever do it, if we're being honest. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of discipline, were you following this whole Khamzat Chimaev situation from this past weekend?
Yeah, MMA fighting kind of put a target on my back and used my tweet as the headline.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Just could you elaborate a little on the thoughts right there? Because I mean, I think we agree.
I was a few drinks deep, so if it came out of left field aggressive, there's that right there. But I stick to my statement. I think it was a scumbag move. A couple of my friends are like, "Oh, Khamzat wasn't reaching for a glove touch; he was feinting a jab." And whether he was or wasn't, Kevin Holland was reaching for a glove touch. Do I think it was a smart decision? Absolutely not. I thought it was weird that they touched gloves in the center of the cage in the first place. But you know what? Sportsmanship, whatever. You guys put your beef to the side as soon as you got in the cage. But then, Kevin goes for another glove touch, and Khamzat either feinted the jab or feinted the glove touch and then shoots right under it. Not saying that he would have stopped the takedown anyways, but the Granby rolls, he was making Khamzat work for that position. And I think a lot of people that either don't train jiu-jitsu or don't really specialize in Darce chokes, they don't realize how well Kevin Holland defended that Darce.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, he didn't mess up until the very end. Like when he was surviving, he was good. The very end, when he turned onto his side instead of staying flat on his back, I think that's where he messed up, because me as somebody who likes Darces, I'm thinking like if that was me and Kevin Holland rolls to his back, I have to disengage and go for a different position. But Holland turned right back on his side, and he made it even worse for himself. So he did great defending that, and I think it was a scumbag move from Khamzat. But as you've seen in his interviews, he doesn't give a shit what people like me think.
Yeah.
But that's just my thought on it. You come in, you miss weight, you make a joke out of it. And unfortunately, as somebody who's missed weight, it's not a joking matter. I've never joked about it, but, he doesn't care. He's in there to fight. He's in there to finish people. I don't know where his career is going to go from here, because like Rogan said, it's like you could take over the 170-pound division, but they have to know you can make weight. And he said he didn't care. So I don't know. He's up in the air. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like crap about this now because I drafted Khamzat Chimaev for our fantasy draft, and I've kind of been morally taking torpedoes this whole week. Deservedly so. I'm not seeking justification. I'm just saying you are absolutely right. It's funny though, Jack. I'm really glad you mentioned the whole Kevin Holland Chimaev fight, because Joe, I was actually going to ask you in terms of the finishing sequence for that fight. I was going to ask, did Kevin Holland defend that the best way he could? Is there anything different he could have done?
Everything he did was great. Like I said, until that very last sequence when he was trying to make space. And even right before he tapped, he had a good angle. And I said to my buddy that I was watching with, he's breathing fine. I go, I just wonder if his shoulder's going to end up popping. And then as soon as he taps, he gets up and he's doing this. Because anybody that hits a lot of Darce chokes, there's a certain angle where it turns from a choke to a neck/shoulder crank. And it's super uncomfortable. And I've been put out in training all the time. I wait until the hallway starts closing, then I'll tap. But there's some people get a Darce at that angle, and as soon as they squeeze, I'm like, you got it, because it turns into that shoulder neck crank, and it'll give you like a stinger down the side of your neck. And so I think that's what Holland actually ended up tapping to. But yeah, I mean, he did a great job defending that Darce. It was tight from the jump, and he survived a lot longer than most people would.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that whole card was crazy. Like with the whole switcheroo situation that happened at the top. Like, what did you think about the Diaz Ferguson main event and all the madness that happened there?
I loved it when the matchups got changed. And in hindsight, after the card, I especially love it. I'm so glad Nate didn't fight Khamzat.
Yeah.
That would have just been bad for Nate. It would have been bad as a Diaz fan. I wouldn't have been happy after that fight ended. But I think I said to my friends, it's a Cinderella story for Nate Diaz. You go from this huge underdog against the biggest up-and-comer, literally, and then you go to face another legend like Tony, who's, age-wise and maybe physicality-wise on your level in a much more competitive fight. Still the main event, probably got paid extra for the opponent switch, and now you get a freebie. You get to talk shit about Khamzat, and there's absolutely nothing anybody can say.
Yeah.
You showed up and made the weight.
Yeah, the choke was great at 209 too. It was too perfect. He
MMA
couldn't
gods
write
are real.
They finally rewarded us for once. It was brilliant to see. So, Joe, we actually on that topic, we heard from Nate Diaz that his plans, at least in the immediate future, are actually setting up his own fight promotion, Real Fight Inc., which I'm very excited to see personally. If you were given a call and a chance to go on that, would you be down to fight for Nate?
I'd be down to talk about it for sure. I mean, I'm kind of at the point now where it's like everything's a business move, big time. You know, I'll fight anybody, and for now we see most weight classes. But it's just about like how much am I getting paid? You know, I think I can beat a majority of guys on the planet, but you know, I fight for not to diss Cage Titans. I don't make a lot of money when I fight for Cage Titans, and it's not because they don't pay me well. They're the highest paying promotion in the Northeast, and you can check the books on it. But the thing is I put so much out in my fight camps, taking time off of work, going out to California, living in California for a month or two at a time. You know, if I come back and I win my fights and I'm not negative what I put out to make and I break even, that's a success for me. So if it's going to be one of those things where I go fight in California, now I don't get ticket sale commission. Maybe I'll get pay-per-views if they do that. I might not sell as many t-shirts because my fans won't physically be there. So it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm fighting a world-class guy, I want world-class money. So, you know, I've been offered some world-class guys, and I've to tell you straight up, I've said no because somebody just fought them 3 months ago in the PFL for 30 and 30. And now you want me to fight him for 1,000 and 1,000. No businessman's going to tell you that makes sense. And that's not to hate on any promotion. You know, it's not the PFL. It's not the UFC. They can't pay like that. But unfortunately, you get to that level. That's what you're worth. You know, I tell people all the time, Mike Trezano fought me at the finale for 15 and 15. And now there's guys that fight me for 1,000 and 1,000. It's like business wise, you're not smart for taking the fight. And especially nowadays, I know that I'm going to whoop these guys' ass. So you're just getting paid to come in and lose.
Yeah, I respect the insight. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing that I have, is there anyone in particular that you want to fight next in Cage Titans, or is it just kind of next man up for you?
It's kind of just next man up. It always sounds like I'm just hyping up the next fight or talking smack, but like the top 10 in New England at 155 will not fight me. I'm number 3 or 4. Makes no sense, but the rest of them won't fight me. So that's why I fought at 170. I've had guys at 170 call me out that don't end up fighting me. So that's where right now, I'm just back to work, back to training. Whether I fight for the UFC or I fight for Cage Titans, we'll see. I'm just going to focus on getting back in shape, getting better. And, you know, like I said, I've got a couple guys in the UFC I got my eyes on. So if I fight one of them, that'd be great.
For sure. For sure.
Nice. Joe, last thing for me before we move on to our next bit. Obviously, you've given us a brilliant insight in my last question in terms of the realities of the business, which I actually think will be very refreshing for a lot of people to hear. We see the likes of the UFC, Bellator, PFL, but not a lot of people realize how tough of a grind it actually is to get back to the top. So we really appreciate you sharing that more than anything. My last thing before we move on, it is about Tough, and it's on a much more positive note. What are your best memories from your season of Tough? Were there crazy housemates? Was it any of your fights that made you really happy? What were your best memories from Tough 27?
My favorite memory, and it gets posted every couple of months, and I'll share it every time, is DC trying to skate. Was the funniest thing I have ever seen. Like, that man has never gone ice skating in his life. But I'll never forget, we were in the vans driving over, and I forget what, it was a practice basketball arena that we drove by. We're like, basketball, DC's got this in the bag. And then we pulled up to the Warriors, or whatever the hell their hockey team, the Knights, their practice arena. And DC walks over to the van, and he walks in, and he goes, boys, I think it's hockey. I don't know about this one. And we're all like, shit. And he pulled it off. To this day, I can't believe it. If you weren't there, you would think it was written that way. That like DC is going to come back and win, but fall on his ass every shot he takes. 100% real. It was the craziest thing ever. It was hysterical.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Oh man, yeah, that is one of the best moments of the season, right there. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. That's great.
So funny.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the Guess Who part of the podcast. So basically, the way this works, Keelan and I have chosen a fighter from the UFC 155-pound division. You have 5 hints and then 3 guesses to try and get who this fighter is. So whenever you're ready, just ask a question and we'll get going with the hints.
Okay. You're first, right?
Yeah, we'll both answer them. We'll both answer them.
Okay. Are they in the top 10?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Have they fought Charles Oliveira in the last year?
Within,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Does he have his own hot sauce?
Yes, he does.
Dustin Poirier.
Well done.
Let's
Go,
go.
That was too easy. Well done.
People forget I'm a big MMA fan.
Yeah,
the
I
way I tweet and stuff is because I'm a fan first, fighter second.
Oh, I love it.
The
Well
second
done.
he said have they fought Charles Oliveira, we were dead in the water. It's only like 3 or 4 feet.
I know.
I was hoping you would go the Justin Gaethje route first, right? I was hoping you
I
would
was
go
thinking
it. I guess it also doesn't help I have the hot sauce literally right here, but it's fine.
Does he have his own hot sauce? No.
Yeah. I was like, this is it. This will narrow it down.
Well, that's great. Well, Joe, this was so fun. Thank you so much for coming on. As always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can listen to us everywhere, literally everywhere, including iTunes and Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at MMA.island.pod. And again, Joe, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.